That's not interfering with anything, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Hangout number 3. Again, if the first 2 hangouts did not excite you, I really think you need to go to Amazon. You can order a home defibrillator. Get it sent to you 1-day shipping. When it gets here, just stand out in the yard, take your shirt off, attach it to your chest, say clear, hit the button, because maybe you don't have a pulse if this does not just totally, absolutely excite you, because it excites me. It just excites me to no end. So basically, Roger, we talked about the overview on the first hangout, the goal, you're selling ClickBank products, and other stuff, frankly. We talked more about the details on the last hangout. How do you find in keywords? How do you build 1 million pages? You know, in a qualitative way. How does that whole thing work? The fact that in terms of Google, you're giving Google what Google wants. So when Google goes through these algorithm changes, Google's basically trying to get the manipulators and the bad eggs out, right? But you're not a manipulator and you're not a bad egg. So Google's looking at your stuff and saying, that's exactly what I want. And Google's looking at somebody else who's trying to basically put a round peg into a square hole and saying, that's what I don't want. So these tweaks are basically Google's way of getting rid of the junk. But since the way you're doing this is from the very beginning, from even finding the keywords, you're going to Google and saying, what do you like? And Google's telling you, and then you're making what Google likes. And so that's why you have this organic success of this stuff ranking. Now, but you still got to do some backlinking, because you're still going to have to give it a little juice, and you're going to take, let's say you've got a page that's got some mashed up content like we talked about last time. It's starting to rank for keyword phrase A. Well, you want to give that a little juice, and then you want to create some things semantically very similar to keyword phrase A. So let's talk about how all that happens.
Okay, you mean on the content or the backlinks?
Well, I guess, okay, this is what, when I understood this, you know, when you and I first got to know each other and I was reading about this and you were talking to me, I said, oh, this is a feedback loop. So let's talk about that whole feedback loop, because the backlinking and the creating of more content sort of work in harmony to make stuff rank even better.
Yeah, you're right.
See what I'm saying?
I understand what you're asking. Yeah, this organic feedback loop is basically we track our rankings on all these billions of pages, and we do that with automation. Google is telling us several things in these reports that we get. It's saying this blog post on this domain is ranking in whatever number position, and it's ranking in that position for this particular keyword. And what we do is, once we find out what that keyword is that we're ranking for, we'll jump back into the Google Suggest tool and find every LSI keyword that we can possibly find that's relevant to that one keyword we're ranking for, and we'll go put those into a separate category on that site,
right,
which enhances the opinion of the bots. They say, okay, well, this site just got even stronger in this regard according to the relevancy of this niche, so we're going to give it a little more weight. We're going to give it a little more traffic and see how it does. And they're tracking, they're tracking page loads, they're tracking time on page, they're tracking bounces, and if you've got all that stuff taken care of in your favor, then they're going to give you a little more traffic, and they're going to keep tracking you, and then they'll give you a little more traffic. And if you keep doing well, they'll give you a little more and a little more. And it builds, I won't say it builds authority, because basically authority is a measure of what Google calls PR, which was one of their original things they based search engine rankings on.
Right.
But it definitely helps, and it definitely brings more traffic, which brings more affiliate clicks and commissions.
You know, you said LSI keywords. Basically, those are keywords that are semantically very closely related to the keyword phrase that's already ranking. So just for anybody who doesn't understand that, the English word car, well, we also have a word called automobile, and we have a few other words, and those are semantically extremely close to each other. Because even though they're different words, and they have slight different nuances in meaning, they're both talking about that thing that you get in and drive to work at, right?
Right.
So another thing about the LSI thing, a lot of what Hummingbird was about this shift to semantically related keywords on the page, in the site, etc., etc. And what's cool to me is you were already giving that to Google. So it makes total sense. And when Hummingbird came around, and Google's saying basically, yeah, we know all these spammers, because that's basically what SEOs are, frankly. Mm-hmm. And I'm not hating on anybody. I'm one. but we know all these spammers are creating all these stupid backlinks in order to make us think that this should be ranking. You know, here's a better way of doing it. Let's see if we can, quote unquote, read and see what the site actually is about.
Right.
And see, that's what you're doing already. You were already doing that before Hummingbird. So again, it makes total sense that not only you survive Hummingbird, but that Hummingbird actually helps you.
Absolutely. Every animal they've come out with has helped us, because we're trying to parallel what we do with what they do in order to better the visitor experience, which is basically boils down to relevancy.
Right, right. So let's talk about backlinking specifically, again, in a qualitative, high-level way without giving away the farm. You got 1 million pages, you've got some extremely large number of them that are starting to rank for various things. How in God's name do you keep up with that? And how in the world do you backlink them?
Well, we found an automated script about 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, something like that. There's a very small group of people on the internet who build e-commerce websites like we do, and those guys they're really high level, they're programmer level people, and they created this backlink exchange system that doesn't reciprocate backlinks. Like, you know, you used to be able to, hey, you give me a backlink from your site, I'll give you one from our site, and we'll get better rankings, and then right. Google did away with all that. Well, these guys right. coded around everything that Google doesn't like, so this link exchange system works in harmony with what Google is looking for in backlinks, and it's all automated. And I can set it up. I can set up my entire week's worth of backlinking, 1 million backlinks per day, in about 15 to 20 minutes a week. And it's nice. It's a really slick system, and it's given us a lot of improvement.
Nice, excellent. So in other words, again, automation. Can anybody do this? I mean, because you said programmer level, and I mean, I can program. I hate it. I would rather have my back tooth pulled out with a pair of pliers, but I can do it. I did it in college. So tell me a little bit about how accessible this part is to your average affiliate market.
Cost-wise, it's very accessible. This backlinking tool is $25 a month. I mean, 1 million.
Okay, so that's peanuts. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 million backlinks a day for $25 a month. That's 70 cents a day for 1 million backlinks. It's just negligible. So financially, right. it's anybody can do it basically if you're making any money right. at all. As far as actually operating the system, that is a little more difficult. and it took me about 8 months to master this system, and it's command line level install and things like that. And I had to learn command line to be able to use this, and I thought about trying to teach this to my clients, but nobody wanted any part of it. So I taught it to my assistant, who's in Pakistan, and he now runs our service for another $25 a month, which we make zero money on. We might even lose money. But he operates about 98% of my clients' installs for this backlinking program. And I allow them to do the work that they need to do in order to upload their links, but we do all the management, hosting, installation, troubleshooting, and all that stuff. So it
the
is
bottom line
accessible
is,
to everybody.
The backlinking itself is kosher as far as Google's concerned. It's extremely sophisticated, but you've got a done-for-you solution for somebody who really doesn't want to sit around. And I used to do command line stuff because I worked my way through college working for IBM doing stuff like that. I mean, this is a long time ago. So, yeah, it's a pain. But for somebody who doesn't want to sit down and learn all that stuff, which who would for $50 a month? And you're not making a profit out of that. This is not some stupid little way of shaving more money off of your clients. This is just saying, hey, I realize most people don't want to get into this. You want people to have success with this whole thing, so you just basically said, what do I need to make it happen? About $25 a month. I suspect you're probably losing a little money on that, frankly. And so you make it happen for your clients to where it's essentially a done-for-you service, right?
Yeah, this is basically a lost leader for me because anybody who is ready to commit themselves, I think they need a little pat on the back. I sure do wish I would have had one when I was trying to get started and learn this.
Right.
And so it's just something. It's just an added service for them. I don't make a dime off of it, but it was such a big increase, the 32%, that it really needed to happen because people are screaming about backlinks. Getting backlinks is hard when you're doing millions and millions of pages. And it was just better to get away and let everybody have it at cost. And makes me look like a good guy, and people get what they want. So
absolutely,
what's not to like?
Absolutely. Awesome. We've talked about a bunch of stuff on these 3 Hangouts, Roger, and I know that a lot of people are looking at this, have to be really excited about this. I also know people have a lot of questions. Questions like, all this automation. People know it's real, but I mean, it would help if they actually saw a little bit of this. And then why in the world are you and I sharing this stuff with other people? What? Because obviously we have, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, we have an end goal in mind, quite frankly, to be totally transparent. So we got 2 things coming up, folks. One, Roger and I are doing an absolutely free webinar where you're going to go to the webinar and you're going to watch how a lot of this stuff happens on the webinar. So you will get more of an inside view of details. And then, quite frankly, Roger has a membership site, which is amazingly underpriced in my estimation, quite frankly. I mean, it's insanely underpriced. I don't know why Roger's doing this, but anyway, he's not going to change anytime soon, I think, so you're good. And that's not some stupid salesman stuff. That's just exactly what I think. So we're going to give you, or Roger's going to give you the opportunity to check that out. So, Roger, what do you think about those last 2 things I just said?
Well, they're spot on. The webinar, I can show everybody everything I'm doing on a 30 to 45-minute webinar and give them a look at the way things are operating. It sounds so sophisticated and so complicated, but
Yes.
we've programmed our tools to make it a lot easier than it really sounds. So
Right.
I want to show everybody that,
Because from the
and
outside,
kind of put fears to rest.
yes, from the outside, when you talk about a million keywords, you talk about a million pages, you talk about sophisticated backlinking. I would suspect a lot of people are thinking, well, that might be a little bit of an overload. Can somebody do that? Could somebody, for instance, who has a 9 to 5 or maybe an 8 to 8 job get in on this and do that? Could somebody who has a wife, kids, you know, a life do this kind of thing? Or do they have to just totally devote themselves like some sort of Indian guru sitting up in the Himalayas? Do they have to totally devote themselves to this? So you're going to show people that actually by virtue of the automation that you've created over the past 5 years, that this is extremely accessible to anybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a guy named Howie in my forum now, and he's been there for I think 2 years, maybe a little longer. And he drives a UPS truck. He works 70 to 80 hours a week, and he still does this and makes money at it. I have a guy who climbs cell towers for a living, and he does this, you know, an hour or two a day, and is making good money at it. So anybody can do it. I can show you every process, and I do show every process and make it as simple as possible. But if you have a command of your mouse and you can click the buttons and follow instructions, it's basically that's all there is to it.
Exactly, and that is not an exaggeration. That's just the absolute truth about what's involved. So cool. So folks, wherever you're looking at this, there's a link. And that link's going to go to webinar registration. I might have already given you the link at some other point, but there's a webinar registration. You need to register for the webinar. Now, if you're looking at this, because you know, I know that like my subscribers on my various email lists, you guys are all over the world. So if you're missing this, if you don't open your email every day, you miss the webinar. Roger, are we going to have some kind of replay for people to look at, or what?
Yeah, we'll put up a replay for everybody because it's there. I don't think everybody around the world. There's any way, you know, people have to sleep at some point, so we'll do a replay.
Exactly. Cool. So we'll have a replay up, guys, and you'll have the opportunity to watch this stuff in action. You will see from the user's point of view how incredibly simple this actually is. And then again, Roger's going to give you an amazing chance to take a peek at his membership site. And I've been in that membership site, and there's a massive amount of totally cool stuff. But in terms of getting this thing up and running, Roger, you basically baby-stepped this whole thing, right?
Yeah, I shaved everything down. We don't talk about possibilities in the tutorials. That all the tutorials are step by step, week by week. And we don't talk about possibilities. We only talk about what works and the actual steps that you need to do. If it's, I mean, we've shaved it down so that if it's not included, if I don't talk about something in the steps, you don't even have to worry about it because we've already either programmed around it or found a way around it so that it doesn't matter. So it's just,
this isn't one of those deals where you. This isn't one of those deals where you get into it, you get all excited, you get started, and you hit a roadblock.
No, this is step by step, click by click. Here's what you click. Here's what's going to happen, and move on to the next step.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay. So, guys, that's what this is about, and we'll see you on the webinar.
All right. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Roger. See you.